Judge denies AMC settlement on stock conversion, shares surge. This is the false news that the media is pushing and the media is portraying, but not false enough to where you can sue, but false enough to where you read it and you think one exact thing, and that the APE conversion AMC reverse split is off the table, the settlement is off the table, which those are actually wrong. What is going on, guys? Lottery Stocks here. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the channel if you're new. Today, we are going to be touching on the 100% gain that AMC got. What is to come for next week? This is very exciting, but it's been stressing me out the entire night, and I'm just going to leave it up to the audience and asking you guys, is it a coincidence that we got this rip? Because we're going to talk about it in 1 second. All I ask you guys to do, it's free, it helps me out. Please hit the like button, get 1,000 likes on this video, hit the subscribe button, and if you're an AMC shareholder, please drop a comment down below. Let's get into it. AMC had this 100% perfect rip that I have been talking about coming, and my dumbass missed purchasing calls on AMC. But why did we see this coming? Because AMC tracks along with XRP, and we have been saying AMC is going to get this same exact rip XRP got, which is to the T, the identical rip that AMC got in after hours on Friday. XRP got this rip, AMC followed it up, got the rip that we've been talking about. If you think XRP doesn't track with AMC, and for all you scumbags, and there's not many, but there are some haters on the channel that drop comments, for all of you guys who talk trash about correlating XRP to AMC, you probably missed this run. Now, before we get into what the case means, what actually happened, this is AMC in the orange overlaid over XRP's chart. XRP ripped, AMC ripped, XRP ripped, AMC ripped, vice versa, both times back in January and back in June. XRP ripped, AMC following it up about 1 week later. This is the exact rip that we've been waiting for. All of a sudden, we got the catalyst. So the question here, is this coincidence, or is every single entity in the system tied together? Because every time it seems as if we need a rip on this day, or a dump on this day, or this week rather, there is some sort of catalyst to do it. Whether Adam Aaron tweets, whether something happens with movie theaters, whether something happens with GameStop, or whether Judge Zern makes a decision. It always seems like they know exactly when to put out some sort of catalyst, and in my opinion, it just feels like all of the retail investors are getting played. All of the higher ups are controlling exactly what is happening, and this is going to be a slow delay tactic until some of us can make money, and the people who are making money are the day traders on this. I saw people make over 50 grand over on Twitter just on the AMC run. AMC running 100% in less than 30 minutes just shows what the stock can do. Now, I could sum this up in quick detail, but shout out to Randall Cornett for this tweet, and before I get into the tweet, in the quick detail, in the quick summary of AMC, but stay, because you really have to know the details of the settlement, where Judge Zern is at, and what is going to happen going forward, not only what just happened with the case. Allegheny contested AMC, reverse split conversion, ape, all that good stuff. AMC said, listen, how about we agree to this, 7.5 share payout, whatever. Allegheny said, sure, and then we can just let this thing go through the way you wanted it to go through with it. Well, Judge Zern basically came out and said, listen, this isn't going to happen, all right? This agreement isn't going to happen. Therefore, the case where Allegheny contesting AMC, they are still butting heads here. They are still going at it. And this is what Judge Zern is saying about it. So bear with me here. The court filing we've all been reading, or started to read today, is a legal opinion or court decision related to a proposed settlement involving AMC Entertainment Holdings. The court has decided not to approve the proposed settlement and has instructed the parties to confer and submit a new schedule for the remainder of the case. The plaintiffs have been directed to file a consolidated complaint. This is stated on page 68 in quotes, for the foregoing reasons, the proposed settlement is not approved. The parties should confer on and submit a schedule for the remainder of the case, and plaintiffs should file a consolidated complaint. In other words, right here in quotes on page 68, Judge Zern said, for these reasons, this is why I'm rejecting it. And both parties should submit a schedule for the rest of the case, and plaintiffs should file a consolidated complaint. Okay, this is number one. Judge Zern has scrutinized the release of claims associated with the proposed settlement. She emphasized that the scope of a release cannot be limitless due to substantive due process concerns. On page 34, it's mentioned that, in quotes, I conclude the proposed settlement cannot be approved because the release encompasses ape claims that plaintiffs who only sued on behalf of a putative class of common stockholders and only brought common claims, cannot release. The claims arising out of APE units are based on factual predicate adhered to a different security and not supported by consideration. Filing also discusses a scenario where the apes convert to shares of common stock. In this scenario, when the apes convert to common stock, former ape unit holders will represent a smaller percentage of total common stock than they would have if not for the proposed settlement consideration received by the class. This mentioned on page 57. In that scenario, when the apes convert to shares of common stock, former ape unit holders will represent a smaller percentage of the total common that they would have if not for the proposed settlement consideration received by the class. In other words, when apes convert into AMC, the ones who held ape would represent a smaller amount of a percentage if the settlement would go through, which is ultimately not fair. And on page 26, it's mentioned that, in quotes, AMC agreed to distribute 6.9 million shares of common stock to existing common stockholders at a ratio of 1 share of common stock for every 7.5 shares of common stock held after the reverse split but before the conversion. Upon approval of the share increase proposal and filing of the amendment with the Delaware Secretary of State, each ape would convert into 1 share of common stock. The conversion, this is mentioned on page 16. We're about to be done here. Without the proposed settlement, the existing common stockholders would own 34.28% of AMC's equity after the conversion, and the former ape unit holders would own 65%. With the proposed settlement, the existing common stockholders would own 37% of AMC's equity, and after the conversion, and the former ape unit holders would own 62.85%. This is mentioned on page 27. The process of reaching the proposed settlement involved in mediation and extensive follow-up negotiations. Lifting the status quo order was a condition of the settlement. However, the court found that the parties failed to make their case for implementing the proposed settlement before it was approved, and therefore failed to establish good cause to vacate the stipulated status quo order. The status quo order remains in place. This is important. Basically, the judge said it would be unfair. These are the percentages if the settlement were to happen. And the judge also said basically both parties failed to even make their case for the proposed settlement. So it remains in place, and what I see here is another delay, but a short catalyst for AMC. Now, why did AMC run 100% and ape drop 62%? This is partially what the media is doing. They're portraying something that looks like the conversion reverse split is off the table. Therefore, you wouldn't get that arbitrage play. Therefore, they're taking advantage of dumping ape, bringing AMC up, trying to tell you that the arbitrage play is gone. In reality, they may be purchasing ape at that 67-cent low. Now, here is where it gets interesting, and here's where it gets spicy. Ape dropped 62% and then risen 122%. So even if you bought that dip, you would already be up about 40% on your ape shares. However, it didn't completely rebound. It did still get that nasty percentage gain. Now pay attention to this. Talking about that coincidental rip with XRP and the time the catalyst moved, AMC now knows that the majority of shareholders, even without Antera, voted yes in favor of the proposed conversion and reverse split. AMC can now hold another vote, and majority of objectors can actually purchase shares and click no on their proxy if they don't like it. In other words, in the doc, in the opinion, Zern basically said they had this vote go through, but they knew that it was going to go through because they sold shares to Antera and gave them a ton of voting rights. Now, you can have a bunch of voting rights because they're basically going to redo the vote. At least that's what we think right now. Isn't it interesting that Antera sold most of their position, but as soon as this went through, ape dropped to 67 cents on the dot to the T where Adam Aaron sold those shares, and that is the bare bottom that this thing hit. Isn't that interesting? This tells me that they read the dockets early, they got those shares at that low, and they are going to rig the vote once again, and Adam Aaron is probably in on it. I don't want to speak too much conspiracy here, but I find it way too odd that we got the rip following XRP with this catalyst that randomly came up, right? Zern wanted to make a decision on this day, and then we bounced off the 67-cent low. Not only that, 0.5% of the total issued shares were traded in 5 minutes and caused over a 60% drop in share price. Does this seem fishy to you guys? Was this just a draw tactic so they can pick up shares at that level? You guys let me know what you think about this in the comments down below. After they found out that the conversion reverse split is still on the table, AMC risen up, right? That's why they did it. No. In my opinion, why they did it is because they needed more shares at the bottom so they can rig the vote again and delay it. Somebody is scared of the reverse split and the conversion. Whether it be a good thing or whether it be a bad thing, AMC showed you what it can do, moving 100% in less than a half hour, adding 1.12 billion to their market cap within a half an hour. And this is a dangerous game that they're playing. Reason this is a dangerous game is because 100% move on AMC or GameStop is going to cause hundreds of thousands of retail investors to look at the stock and bring a lot of FOMO to the table. It's going to be a lot of gamma on the table and potentially could cause another algorithm break like it did back in January of 2021. Market makers and short sellers are already in the hole as we see the cost to borrow percentage, but most importantly, we see the threshold securities list 20 consecutive days so far on the list. Overall, guys, that is the update on this. Hopefully you enjoyed watching or found value out of the video. Make sure to share the video to other apes who want to know what happened, why it moved 100%. This is my quick update for you guys. If you guys want up to 16 free stocks, use my link, download Moomoo, make a deposit. It can literally be $1. You're getting up to 16 free stocks, each valued up to $2,000 per stock, $50 sent to your account, and a potential Tesla or Google stock. There's literally no reason not to do so. That will be pinned in top comments and linked in the description, as well as the Discord link. I'm in there on the daily, so if you want to pop in and say, lottery sucks, what do you think about this? Is this good or bad for AMC? What do you think is going to happen next week? Are you playing this earnings play? Yada, yada, yada. Pop in the Discord. Plus, 500 of the most amazing people in there who talk stocks all day long, and we have options trading alerts in there and more. Overall, guys, that is it. I love you all. Lottery stocks out.